chandeliers that could blind you if you looked up too fast. But none of it ever felt like home. Not to me. I was just returning from the garden, shoes still muddy from trimming Grandma's roses, the only part of the estate untouched by pretense, when I heard voices coming from my father's office. At first, I wasn't listening. I wasn't supposed to be home yet. But then, I heard my name. "Lena doesn't deserve a penny," my father said. His tone wasn't angry. It was worse, clinical, matter-of-fact, like he was discussing removing a broken fixture. My hand froze on the doorknob. My brother Rowan chuckled quietly. "So she's out officially, finally." "Tomorrow," Dad replied. "Once the lawyers finalize the transfer, we won't tell her until everything is done. She'll find out when it's too late." I felt the world tilt. A coldness crawled up my spine, slow and deliberate. And then the voice I feared most entered the conversation. My mother. "It's better this way," she said, her tone dripping with that false sugar she reserved for strangers and enemies. "Lena was never made for responsibility. She's too emotional, too soft. Everything she touches becomes a burden on this family." Rowan snorted. "She'll cry, she always does." Dad laughed under his breath. "Let her, tears don't change paperwork." I didn't cry. I didn't breathe. I didn't understand how 3 people who shared my blood could speak about me like I was a defective product being returned. But I understood one thing instantly. They never saw me as one of them. They never had. And then, the killing blow. "Make sure she never finds out about the second trust," Mom added casually, like discussing dinner plans. "She'd ruin everything if she knew what her grandmother actually left behind." Dad replied, "Don't worry. By the time she figures it out, the assets will be ours." Second trust. Assets. Hidden. My blood turned to ice. I stepped back from the door quietly, my heart pounding but my movements steady, calm, controlled. If they wanted to cut me out, fine. But they had no idea what I already knew. I turned away and walked down the hall, past the portraits of a family I no longer recognized. At my childhood bedroom, I grabbed my laptop bag. Not clothes. Not photos. Not sentimental tokens. Just the tools I needed. I walked out the door without looking back. 2 hours later, I stood inside my grandmother's old cabin at the edge of the property, a place no one visited anymore because it smelled old. Grandma used to say, "People who chase money forget the value of things that last." I didn't understand her then. I did now. Under the bed, hidden behind loose slats of wood, was a metal lockbox she once warned me about. "Only open it," she'd told me the day before she died, her voice thin as paper, "if they turn on you. And they will, my brave girl, they will." I never believed her. Until today. With trembling hands, I entered the code she whispered to me months earlier. The lock clicked open. Inside, a sealed envelope with my name. A USB drive. A small velvet pouch. A notarized document with an embossed seal I recognized instantly. A revised estate directive. Signed by my grandmother. Leaving everything to me. And that wasn't even the final blow. The USB contained a detailed breakdown of a second fortune trust worth millions. One my parents illegally attempted to hide by nomming themselves temporary custodians. A federal crime if exposed. My grandmother knew. She always knew. I opened the letter next, hands shaking. "Lena, if you are reading this, they have chosen greed over blood. You will rise where they fall. Do not fear them. Use what I've given you. You are the rightful heir, not because of law, but because of integrity. Protect the legacy. And protect yourself. Grandmother Elise." My throat tightened. Not with grief. With purpose. I wiped my eyes, pulled myself together and stood. The Mercer family thought they had outplayed me. But they never understood me to begin with. They thought I was sensitive, weak, easily manipulated, easily erased. They forgot the one thing that mattered most. Grandma didn't raise a victim. She raised a strategist. And I wasn't going to let them rewrite the story. Not this time. The next morning, I walked into the house like nothing had happened. My mother was humming while arranging fresh flowers, her fake domestic act. My father was on a conference call, pretending to be a moral business leader. Rowan was eating cereal like the smug beneficiary he believed himself to be. I placed my bag on the counter. My father didn't even look up. "We're busy, Lena. Could you give us a moment?" I smiled tightly. "Actually, I just came to say congratulations." Dad paused mid-sentence. "On what?" I placed the revised will on the table like a card in a poker game I knew I'd win. "On handing everything to me." Mom froze. Rowan choked on his cereal. My dad's face drained of color. I didn't wait for their questions. I didn't wait for their lies. I simply leaned forward and said, "Checkmate." And that was how it began. Not with a scream. Not with a fight. Not with a dramatic explosion. With truth. With evidence. With their perfect plan, collapsing under the weight of one inconvenient reality. I wasn't disposable. I was the heir. The rightful one. And I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I wasn't planning to go to brunch that morning. After the wedding chaos, after being seated outside like I was some sort of stray problem the family didn't want photographed near the real guests, I had zero interest in pretending everything was fine. But my phone buzzed nonstop with messages from cousins who were checking in, which really meant they wanted an update on the drama. So I escaped to a small cafe 2 blocks from my apartment, quiet, warm, and mercifully empty. I ordered coffee, sat in a corner booth, and finally opened my phone. And there it was. The picture. The one photo that changed everything. At 8:14 a.m., someone had tagged me in a wedding post by accident. A wide-angle shot of the ballroom, taken right after all the guests had been seated. Everyone was in their seats, chatting, posing, smiling. Everyone except me. The bottom left corner showed my seat. Table 17, outside the main hall, next to a garbage bin under a flickering utility light. They actually printed a seating card for it. My chest tightened, but it wasn't sadness this time. It was clarity. A kind of silence inside me, cold and sharp. I zoomed in. Faye sat proudly between her husband's family and our uncles, glowing like she'd just been crowned monarch of the universe. Our mother sat right beside the groom's parents, smiling like nothing in the world was wrong. They were all in that picture. Except me. It wasn't an accident anymore. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't oversight. It was a statement. A message. A sign of where I truly stood. The waiter's question. I was still staring at the screen when the waiter approached and gently placed a refill beside me. "You okay?" he asked softly. "You look like someone told you your house burned down." I gave a small, humorless laugh. "No, just finally seeing things clearly." He nodded like he understood more than he should, then left me to my thoughts. I kept staring at that picture until the edges blurred. And then, just below the image, I noticed the caption someone had added. "Sometimes distancing yourself from a difficult sibling is the best choice for a peaceful wedding day. Relieve sparkles." The blood drained from my face. I checked who wrote it. My sister's maid of honor. Liked by my mother, my aunt, Faye's new in-laws, half the family. My hands curled into fists. This wasn't just disrespect. This was character assassination. My phone buzzed again, another message from a cousin. "Hey, sorry I didn't get to sit with you last night. We thought they put you at the kids' table or something lol." Kids' table. I wasn't even inside the hall. And now they were laughing about it. Every second I read those comments, another piece of me hardened. Every like, every lol, every passive-aggressive emoji, they all fed one thing. Resolve. The conversation with my aunt. Just when I thought the morning couldn't get worse, my Aunt Sarah called. I almost ignored it. But something inside me wanted to hear what excuse she would offer. "Hello," I answered. "Sweetheart, I saw what happened online. Ignore the comments. People are childish." I snorted. "Childish? You sat at table 3 with the groom's family while I was outside by the trash." There was silence. Then a small sigh. "Look, Beta, sometimes families have to make choices. You know how Faye is, she gets anxious. And your mother didn't want any drama." "Drama?" I interrupted sharply. "Just my presence is considered drama." She hesitated again. "Things are complicated, dear." "No," I said quietly. "They're not. They just don't want to acknowledge me unless they need something." A long pause. Then she whispered something I never expected. "You're not wrong." My heartbeat slowed. But before I could process it, she added, "Still, it was Faye's day. You should have been more understanding." The line went cold. I ended the call. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. But something inside me closed, firmly, permanently. The comment that went too far. Another notification. This one from my sister's new sister-in-law. Honestly, the seating plan was perfect. Some people just bring bad vibes. Bad vibes. They meant me. Someone replied. Faye told us she didn't want negative energy ruining her photos. Negative energy. The picture, showing me excluded, already had 482 likes. I wasn't just erased. I was framed. Made into the villain of someone else's pretty day. And this time, they let the whole world see it. My stomach twisted, but not with hurt. Not anymore. It was something steadier, stronger. The version of me who swallowed disrespect to keep peace. She died somewhere between the comments and the caption. The first step toward war. And then another tag. A private message request. From someone with no profile picture, no bio. At first, I thought it was spam. But the message stopped my breath. It read, "If you want to know the real reason they kept you outside, check the video from the rehearsal night. They've been hiding something from you." My fingers froze. A second message popped up. "They didn't want you to hear what was said about you." My blood ran cold. What video? What did they say? Who was this person? Before I could type anything, a link appeared. A 12-second video file. And the caption, "This is where everything started." I stared at my phone, pulse pounding. Whatever was in that video wasn't just about the seating. It was connected to the betrayal, to my mother's silence, to Faye's smirk when she walked past me last night, and to the family who liked comments tearing me apart. I knew, instantly, that opening the video would change what I believed about my family forever. I tapped it. The screen went black. Then the audio started. A voice I knew. A voice I trusted. A voice I loved. My mother. Saying something I never imagined she could say about me. And that's when everything truly broke. The video began with shaky footage, like someone was holding the phone under a table. I recognized the venue instantly, the rehearsal dinner hall from the night before the wedding. Soft music, clinking glasses, laughter. But then the camera panned slightly, and 3 familiar figures came into view. My mother, my sister Faye, and our Aunt Sarah. They were standing in a small circle near the back of the room, talking quietly. My heart rate spiked. The camera zoomed in, and I heard my mother's voice clearly, calm, controlled, and frighteningly casual. "She ruins the mood every time. I'm not having Rowan inside the hall for the ceremony. She needs to stay out of the pictures." I froze. My stomach dropped. My mother. My own mother. Saying that about me. Faye laughed, actually laughed, and clinked her glass against my aunt. I told you, see. Mom agrees we can't have her energy around my wedding. She's always so gloomy. Gloomy. That's how they described the child who bent herself in half trying to keep peace in a family that only saw her as a burden. But the worst part, the part that sliced deeper than anything I'd ever heard, was what my aunt said next. She leaned in and whispered, thinking no one else could hear. And after what she did when she was younger, you can't trust her around the guests. People don't forget these things. I blinked. What I did when I was younger. What did that mean? My mother nodded, sipping her drink. Exactly. It's better if she sits somewhere discreet. Outside is fine. Outside. Discreet. Like I was something to hide. The camera caught my sister's face. Cold, triumphant, proud. It's my day, Faye said. She should be grateful she was invited at all. My mother smiled. Don't worry, I'll handle her. Handle me. Like I was a problem. A risk. An object. And then something unexpected happened. A fourth voice. Soft male, nervous. Isn't that harsh? The camera shifted slightly, and I saw him. The groom's younger brother. Daniel. He looked uncomfortable, shifting from foot to foot. Faye's expression sharpened. Oh, please, she snapped. You don't know her like we do. Rowan is unpredictable. Unpredictable. I pressed my hand to my chest, as if I could hold myself together physically. My mother leaned forward and said clearly, Daniel, dear, you're new to this family. Rowan has always been difficult, emotional, dramatic. She makes everything about herself. Difficult, emotional, dramatic. Me. The girl who swallowed every insult. The girl who tried to make herself small to keep peace. The girl who walked on eggshells so her family wouldn't snap at her. But then, the part that nearly made me drop the phone. You weren't here for the incident, my mother continued. She embarrassed the whole family, humiliated us. We never speak about it. The incident. What incident? My aunt nodded, whispering. If guests or the groom's family ever found out, it would ruin everything. Ruin everything. Daniel frowned. Then why invite her at all? Faye shrugged and took a sip of champagne. Obligation, but don't worry. She'll be outside during the ceremony. She won't be in the photos, just pretend she's not there. Pretend I'm not there. This entire time, all I wanted was a moment of belonging. A place. A seat. Instead, I was an embarrassment. A liability. Something to hide. The video ended with Faye saying, I can't wait until she moves out completely. The less we see of her, the better. There was a small beep. The screen went black. I sat there, the phone heavy in my hands, heartbeat thundering. I wasn't just excluded. I was targeted. Planned. Discussed. Approved. And all because of some incident they never explained. Something they used to justify mistreating me. Something they held over me like a shadow. Something that apparently ruined the family so deeply they wanted me erased. My hands trembled. Not with fear. Not with sadness. But with a new emotion, one I had never felt so sharply. Rave. Pure. Cold. Righteous. If they wanted war. If they wanted to keep secrets. They underestimated me. Because now I wasn't just hurt. I was waking up. And I wanted answers. Real answers. I grabbed my coat, paid the cafe bill without looking at it, and walked out into the cold morning air. I knew exactly where I needed to go. I needed to find the truth. I needed to uncover what incident they used to justify treating me like trash. And the first place to start was home. I didn't remember the walk home. I must have passed shops, cars, people, maybe even someone I knew, but none of it registered. My mind replayed the video on an endless loop. My mother's voice, my sister's smirk, the word incident repeating like a warning bell. By the time I reached our family house, my body felt numb. The gate creaked when I pushed it open. Strain. My mother always kept it locked, even during the day. She said strangers wander, but I'd always felt it was symbolic, another barrier between her and the world. But today, the gate wasn't just unlocked. It was left ajar. Maybe they were all still hungover from the wedding. Maybe no one bothered to close it. Or maybe they didn't expect me to come home at all. I stepped into the courtyard, and the silence swallowed me whole. No voices. No movement. No clinking dishes. No "Beta, you're home" from my mother. The house felt abandoned. Like everyone had left for a new life and forgotten I lived here. I entered the living room slowly, my eyes scanning the familiar mess from last night. Half-done makeup on the table, a purse someone forgot, a shawl thrown onto the couch. I placed my bag down too quietly, almost careful not to disturb a ghost. Then I heard it. A faint noise. A shuffle. A small bump. Coming from down the hallway. My muscles tensed instinctively. Someone was here. The hidden drawer. The noise stopped. For a second, everything froze in place. I walked toward the hallway, each step slow, steady. The familiar framed photos on the walls blurred as I passed them, my sister smiling in every frame, my mother beside her, while I hovered somewhere in the corner like an afterthought. The sound came again, faint but unmistakable. From my mother's room. I swallowed hard. I hadn't stepped inside that room in years, not since she started keeping it locked whenever she wasn't home. But now it was open. Wide open. I knocked gently, not out of respect, but because I still felt that old fear of being scolded for entering without permission. No answer. I stepped inside. The room smelled like her perfume, rose, jasmine, something sharp and expensive. The sunlight filtered through the lace curtains, glowing softly over her neatly arranged furniture. Everything was in its place, except the bottom drawer of her dresser. It was open, just an inch. That was the sound I'd heard. Someone had been here. Or someone left it open in a hurry. My heart pounded. I kneeled in front of the drawer. Inside were documents, files, letters, envelopes, some tied with ribbons. Nothing unusual at first glance. But then, I saw something that didn't belong. A small file labeled in thick black marker. Rowan, incident report. The air left my lungs. It felt like the entire room tilted sideways. My name. My mother's handwriting. And the word incident. My fingers shook as I reached for it. But before I could touch the file, a voice behind me said, "Don't." I jerked around so fast, I nearly fell back. Standing in the doorway was Daniel, the groom's brother, the only person in the rehearsal video who questioned the treatment I received. He held a small paper bag, takeout, and looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Shock. Concern. Guilt. "What are you doing here?" I demanded. He stepped into the room cautiously. "I came to check on you, after last night and after what you saw this morning." My eyes narrowed. "How did you know about the video?" He hesitated. A dangerous kind of silence fell. "I sent it," he finally said. My breath caught. "What?" He looked genuinely pained. "I wasn't supposed to, I know that, but what they said, it wasn't right. You deserve to know." I stared at him, my pulse hammering. "And the file?" I asked, pointing at the drawer. "Do you know what this incident is?" He looked at the drawer, then back at me. "You don't remember, do you?" My stomach nodded. "Remember what?" He exhaled shakily. "You were a kid. Something happened at school, something your mother used against you, something she twisted. Twisted. I hated that word. Daniel, I said, my voice low and cold. Tell me. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. It wasn't what they make it sound like, but your mother used it for years as an excuse, to control you, to keep you quiet, to shame you. Shame. My mother's favorite tool. I clenched my fists. What exactly did she tell everyone? He opened his mouth to answer, but we both froze at the same moment. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Approaching the room. Then a familiar voice echoed through the hallway, sharp and cold. Rowan, why are you in my room? My mother was home, and she didn't sound surprised. She sounded prepared, as if she already knew what I found. Daniel stepped slightly in front of me, an instinctive gesture I wasn't used to, someone protecting me. My mother appeared in the doorway. Her eyes didn't go to Daniel. They went straight to the open drawer, then to the file marked with my name. Her face didn't show shock or panic, just irritation. Cold, controlled irritation. Like I was a nuisance. Like I was a child who touched something forbidden. And then she said something I never expected. Something that set the course for everything that would happen next. So, you finally found it. I didn't breathe. Not when she stepped into the room. Not when her eyes landed on me. Not when she closed the door behind her with a soft click that felt like a threat wrapped in politeness. Daniel shifted slightly, still standing between us. But my mother didn't even look at him. Her gaze was locked onto me, calm, controlled, and terrifying. Move, she told him in a voice so gentle it felt like poison. This is a family matter. Daniel didn't move, which was the only reason I didn't fall apart. My mother exhaled through her nose, a tiny, irritated breath. Then her eyes returned to the drawer. To think you'd find this today, she murmured, almost amused. After everything I did to protect you from it. My blood turned cold. Protect me, I echoed. Is that what you call hiding my life in a drawer? Her lips curved, just slightly. That's exactly why it was hidden. Tell me the truth. I stepped around Daniel, my voice steady, but my hands trembling. Tell me what incident means, I demanded. Tell me what you've been holding over my head all these years. Her eyes narrowed. You wouldn't understand. I'm 26, I shot back. I'm not a child. There are things, she said slowly, that children never outgrow. The words hit like a slap. Daniel tensed. Mrs. Hale, she has a right to. Stay out of this, she snapped, turning on him. You barely know her. He held his ground. She hated that. But she turned away from him and pulled the file from the drawer. My name, written in thick black ink, stared back at me like a bruise. She held it in her hands before speaking again. It happened 12 years ago, she began. You were 14. My breath hitched. 14. A year I remembered in flashes, like rooms with lights flickering on and off. You had an episode at school, she continued. A breakdown. Daniel's eyes shot to me, then back to her. An episode, I repeated. She nodded calmly. The teachers called me. They said you screamed at your class, pushed a desk, and ran out of the building. I blinked. That never happened. Of course you don't remember, she said softly. That's why I kept the file. Her tone was all pity, false pity. Daniel frowned. Rowan doesn't seem like someone who. She was unstable, my mother said sharply. The word sliced straight into my chest. Unstable. I'd heard versions of it for years. Sensitive, dramatic, hysterical, difficult, fragile. And always said in that same tone, soft enough to sound caring, sharp enough to scar. A question pressed at my throat like a knife. Why, I whispered, would you keep a file about it? Because, she said, turning slightly away, I needed proof. Proof of what? She finally faced me fully. That you weren't reliable, that you needed guidance, that without me you'd fall apart. My pulse pounded in my ears. You used it against her, Daniel said, his voice tight with anger. My mother didn't flinch. I used it to keep the family functioning. My breath felt shallow. And you told everyone, I asked. You told the Carters, the groom's family. I told them what they needed to hear. My mouth went dry. That I was unstable, I said hollowly. She didn't deny it. Instead, she lifted her chin. Rowan, you were a liability to the wedding. Always emotional, always misreading situations, always making scenes that embarrassed the family. Daniel stared at her like she was speaking another language. I felt something shift inside me. Something warm. Something dangerous. Something awake. The truth cracks loose. I stepped toward her, not scared, not apologetic, not shrinking. For the first time in years, I didn't make myself small. You kept this file, I said slowly, to control me. She didn't blink. You needed control. No, I corrected. You needed control. A muscle in her jaw twitched. Daniel whispered, Rowan, look. He pointed to the file. My mother's fingers tightened around it, but he snatched it from her hand before she could react. He flipped it open. His eyes moved fast. Then his face went pale. He whispered something I almost didn't catch. Oh God. What? I breathed. He handed me the file. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were a single teacher's report, a disciplinary slip, notes in my mother's handwriting, a signature that didn't match the teacher's at all. I stared at the signature. Fake. Completely fake. My mother stepped forward, voice sharp. Rowan, listen to me. You don't understand. I looked up at her. You forged this. She froze. Daniel's voice was tight. This isn't a school record. It's a draft, a bad one. The numbers don't even match the school district's format. My heart thudded painfully. You created an incident, I whispered. A fake one. She swallowed. Rowan, you used it to isolate me. You used it to make people think I was the problem. You were. No. My voice cracked the air. Even Daniel startled. My mother blinked slowly, like recalculating. I stepped closer. You did this, I said, voice low and shaking, so that if I ever spoke up about anything you did, no one would believe me. Her lips parted. Just slightly. My entire childhood crystallized in that single moment. The punishments. The silence. The episodes I was always told I had. The lies whispered to relatives. The constant narrative that I was fragile, dramatic, unstable. Not because I actually was, but because she needed me to be. That file, I whispered, was your insurance. Silence. Then she said something I will never forget. You were easier to manage that way. Daniel exhaled sharply, taking a step back like he'd been hit. My vision blurred with white-hot clarity. This wasn't misunderstanding. This wasn't harsh parenting. This wasn't overprotection. This was manipulation. A finely tuned system she'd maintained for over a decade. And last night at the wedding, it wasn't an isolated moment. It was the final move in a long game. A game I didn't even realize I'd been playing. The shift. I closed the file. Gently. Deliberately. And when I looked up at her, something inside me was gone. The fear. The guilt. The self-doubt. Gone. My voice came out steady. You don't get to control me anymore. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes did. They hardened. Not like a mother. Like an opponent. Daniel stepped beside me, his voice firm. She's not alone anymore. For the first time in my life. My mother looked unsure. Just for a second. But I saw it. The crack. The shift. The power tilting. Then she said, clipped and icy, "You think this changes anything? You think you can walk away from me?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes." Her eyes flashed. And she whispered, "Then you have no idea what you've started." A chill ran through me. But it didn't stop me. It fueled me. Because now I knew what she feared most. Me finally seeing her clearly. I didn't sleep. Not because I was afraid of my mother showing up again, but because for the first time in my life, I saw her without the filter she built around herself. The perfect mother, the devoted wife, the victim of a difficult daughter. That illusion was dead. Replaced by something much colder. A strategist. A manipulator. A woman who forged documents to rewrite my childhood. A woman who curated my weaknesses like investments. And now, a woman who felt me slipping from her grip. Morning crept through the blinds, pale and unforgiving. Daniel had fallen asleep on the couch, one arm tossed over his head, exhausted after staying awake to make sure she didn't return. The file she created, her weapon, sat on the coffee table. I stared at it. At the lies she'd written in her neat handwriting. At the fabricated signature, dripping with confidence. At the timestamp that didn't match the school calendar year. Like a blueprint of the trap I grew up in. A knock rattled the door. Daniel jolted awake, instantly alert. He moved to the door, shoulder tense. "Rowan," he whispered, "stay back." I did, until I heard the voice on the other side. Soft, timid. "Rowan, please, it's me. My brother. Evan. Not the golden child, not the prodigy, the middle one, the silent one. The forgotten one." Daniel opened the door just enough to see him. Hi," Evan said awkwardly. "Can I talk to her?" Daniel looked at me. I nodded slowly. He stepped aside, but stayed close. Evan entered, eyes darting around as if expecting our mother to lunge out of the kitchen. He looked tired, defeated, scared. He pushed his hood back and swallowed hard. "I heard everything," he said. "Yesterday at the wedding." My stomach twisted. "What did you hear?" I asked. He rubbed his hands together. "Enough to know Mom and Dad humiliated you on purpose, but that wasn't all." He lifted his eyes. "They've been lying to me too." The second file. He reached into his backpack and slid a document across the table. Another file. My throat tightened. "Evan, what is this?" He sank into a chair. "It's what they kept about me." Daniel crossed his arms. "A file? Your mother kept a file on you too." He nodded. "I found it last night, hidden in her vanity. She thought I was asleep." My pulse raced. "What's inside?" He pushed it toward me hesitantly, like it might explode. I opened it. Inside were notes about his grades. Letters from teachers, never actually mailed. A list of concerns about emotional maturity. A typed summary titled, "Potential for Failure." My chest tightened. "What is this?" I whispered. His voice cracked. "They wrote it, Mom and Dad. They said it was for a therapist I never met." Daniel swore under his breath. Evan laughed bitterly. "You want the best part," he said. "The signature at the bottom, it's the same fake signature from your file." My mind reeled. "Why would they do this to you?" I asked. He shrugged. "Same reason they did it to you, I guess. Control." He rubbed his face. "I always thought they favored me over you. Dad always said you were unpredictable, and Mom said you were complicated." My eyes burned. "But it wasn't favoritism," he said quietly. "It was division, keeping us from teaming up." I stared at him. At the brother I'd barely spoken to in months. At the boy who grew up in silence next to me, while I grew up in chaos. "You believed their version of me," I said softly. He nodded. I'm sorry. The words felt heavier than they were. I took a slow breath. What made you change your mind? He looked up at me, eyes hollow. Because yesterday, after everything at the wedding, Mom told me something. What? His voice cracked. She said if I wasn't careful, I'd end up like you. The sentence hit like a whip. Daniel swore again. What did she mean? I asked. Evan's jaw tightened. She meant worthless. She meant embarrassing. She meant easy to erase. He clenched his fists. She told me you were unstable, a liability, and that someday she might have to step in with me too. A chill crawled up my spine. And that's when I realized, he whispered, she wasn't protecting anyone, she was grooming us. My stomach dropped. Daniel froze. Grooming for what? He asked. Evan looked him dead in the eyes. To obey. The room felt smaller. Colder. He continued, she thinks she owns us, all of us, our reputations, our choices, our futures. He pointed to the file on the table, the one she made about me. And that was her insurance policy on you. Daniel leaned forward. What do you want to do about it? Evan swallowed hard. And then, he lifted his eyes, full of something I'd never seen in him before. Resolve. I want to help you take her down. The beginning of truth. Silence fell heavy. Even the refrigerator hum seemed too loud. You don't have to choose sides, I whispered. Yes, I do, he said quickly. You think I want to be her next project. You think I want a file thicker than yours. He shook his head. I want the truth. I want my own life, and I'm tired of pretending she's normal. A humorless laugh escaped him. Nothing about her is normal. Daniel exhaled slowly. So what's your plan? Evan took a deep breath. Mom's been hiding things for years, not just files, money, contacts, agreements. Dad thinks he's in charge, but she's the one pulling the strings. I felt the truth of that in my bones. And if we expose her, Evan said softly, everything falls apart. Daniel leaned against the wall, processing. So you want to go after her, he said. Her reputation, her control. No, Evan corrected. I want to go after the system she built. My heart pounded. And I want you with me, he said, looking directly at me. Not as the broken sister. Not as the unstable girl. But as an equal. For the first time in my life. He saw me. And maybe for the first time in his life. He saw himself too. The script flips. Daniel stepped forward. If you're doing this, we need a plan. A real one, structured, safe, legal. Evan nodded. I've been thinking about that. He pulled out a smaller folder. This, he said, is her schedule for the next 2 months. Appointments, meetings, calls, everything she didn't want Dad to know about. I blinked. Where did you get this? She forgot to lock her desk. Daniel laughed under his breath. Her weakness, he murmured, is thinking everyone else is still a child. Evan pointed to the page. She has a meeting on Thursday with someone named Conrad Vale. Daniel stiffened. Vale, as in Vale Holdings. Evan nodded slowly. Yes, why? Daniel's face drained of color. But his voice stayed calm. Because Conrad Vale doesn't meet with just anyone, and he never meets for anything legal. A chill ran down my spine. You think she's planning something, I whispered. Daniel nodded. Something big. Evan leaned back. That's why I came. If you're going after her, you need to know she's already moving. I took a breath. Steady. Deep. Certain. Then we move faster. Evan nodded once. And Daniel looked between us, 2 siblings who had spent years believing lies. 2 people who'd finally cracked the cage. 2 matches ready to strike. He exhaled. All right, he said, if we're doing this. He placed a hand on the table. We expose her step by step. Another hand joined his. Evan, And then mine. The beginning of the end for her. The beginning of the beginning for us. Thursday came too fast. I woke before sunrise, a restless weight pressing against my chest. The files Evan brought me still sat spread across the living room table, each one a testament to years of manipulation. I traced my fingers over Mom's meticulous handwriting, over the layers of lies, over the maps she'd created to control us. Daniel arrived first. His presence always grounded me, steady and calm. Evan came after, head low, carrying a black duffel bag full of the small digital recorders, hidden cameras, and encrypted USB drives we'd collected over the past week. "This is it," Daniel said, setting everything down. "No mistakes, one slip and she knows we're onto her." I nodded, heart hammering. She won't see us coming. The first strike. We had chosen the Thursday meeting with Conrad Vale as our opening. Mom had kept this part secret from Dad, thinking she was untouchable. Vale was her power broker, the man she leaned on for backdoor deals, shell companies, and hush money accounts. If we intercepted this, we'd see the extent of her network. Evan and Daniel positioned themselves at opposite ends of the room. I slipped inside the office building using an old ID Mom had left in the glove box of her car. A key to the empire she thought I'd never step foot in. Conrad Vale's office smelled of leather, dark wood, and intimidation. Mom sat across from him, flawless, her smile almost predatory. "Everything is ready," she said. Her voice, sweet yet sharp, carried authority. "By the end of this quarter, it's finalized. Nobody will touch a penny." Vale nodded, sliding a stack of contracts toward her. "It's perfect. Once executed, the cross holdings will be untouchable. Nobody questions your authority." I exhaled slowly. We had arrived just in time. My phone's recorder captured every word. Evan's camera caught her gestures, her smirk, her subtle glares. Daniel's backup files ensured we had duplicates, ready to go public if needed. For the first time, I saw her vulnerable. Not physically, but in a way she would never admit. She was alone in this room, relying on secrecy to maintain power, and that secrecy was about to shatter. The exposure plan. We waited until Mom left the office to finalize paperwork. Daniel and I moved in. Evan stayed behind to intercept any calls or emails she might try to send Vale. "This is bigger than we thought," Daniel whispered. "She's moved assets offshore, created new LLCs in her name and yours." I clenched my fists. "Mine." "Yeah, she tried to redirect your trust funds into a hidden account under a shell corporation called Silver Horizon. If Vale executes this deal, you're erased completely." I laughed quietly, bitter and sharp. "She's been trying to erase me my whole life. Now we have everything we need to erase her control." Evan returned with a small tablet. "I intercepted her email drafts. She's been writing instructions to the lawyers to prevent any of us from contesting the offshore accounts. It's airtight, unless we make it public." I nodded. "Then it's time to make it public." The dominoes fall. The next morning, a press release appeared online, crafted by us, using her own documents, signed by the lawyers under a whistleblower clause. It read, in essence, "Cross-holdings and related assets have been mismanaged. Unauthorized transfers, hidden offshore accounts, and manipulative estate planning have been uncovered. The public and shareholders are advised of potential misappropriation. Investigation is underway." The reaction was instantaneous. Dad called 5 times in the first hour. Chase texted me dozens of messages, frantic. "Mom," nothing, just silence. By mid-morning, the media had picked up the story. Corporate analysts debated on live television about the cross-family scandal. Shareholders demanded transparency. I watched it unfold from the safety of our apartment, Daniel and Evan by my side. I felt no guilt, only power, only justice. The confrontation. Mom arrived at the apartment later that evening. She had the perfect composure of a woman used to manipulating perception. But her hands shook slightly when the TV played her own contracts on live broadcast. I can explain," she started. You've explained everything already, I said. To the cameras, to the lawyers, to the world. Nothing left to hide now. Her eyes flickered between me, Evan, and Daniel. I could see the cracks forming in her mask. You think you've won, she hissed, stepping closer. You don't understand what I've built. You'll regret this. I leaned back calm. No, you'll regret underestimating us. Evan stepped forward. You thought keeping secrets would protect you. It won't, not anymore. Daniel's voice was steady. Your empire depends on control. We just removed your strings. Mom's jaw tightened. She realized, finally, she couldn't manipulate this situation. The children she thought she controlled were no longer afraid. The fallout begins. By the end of the week, banks froze accounts linked to Mom's secret LLCs. Corporate partners demanded explanations, questioning her authority. The board convened an emergency meeting. Mom called, voice strained. We need to talk alone. I smiled. Now you want to talk. She didn't respond. I knew one thing. The war was far from over. She had underestimated not just me, but the unity of my siblings. For the first time, I felt something I hadn't in years. Anticipation. Because now, I wasn't just defending myself. I was dismantling the empire built on lies. And Mom had no idea the next move was already in motion. The week blurred into chaos. Every day, a new headline, a new rumor, a new email exposing layers of deception. I watched from the corner office of the family business, Daniel at my side, Evan running security and intel. Mom had become untouchable no more. She was scrambling, trying to patch leaks that didn't exist. But the real battle would be in the courtroom. The summons. It arrived on a Monday morning, thick and official. A subpoena to appear as the primary witness in the legal action against Mom and Chase. Dad, predictably, had tried to avoid it by claiming ignorance. I read the summons aloud to Daniel and Evan. It's time to bring this to light, all of it. Daniel nodded. You have everything you need, don't hold back. Evan added, every document, every recording, every email, all compiled. No one can twist this story now. I clenched my jaw. Good, let's make them understand what it means to betray family. The preparation. For days we rehearsed. My testimony had to be flawless. The timeline of misdeeds needed to be airtight. Evidence had to be presented in a way that exposed intent, not just negligence. I pored over Mom's letters to Vale, Dad's hidden signatures, Chase's offshore transfers. Everything she thought was hidden became my weapon. Daniel warned, they'll attack you emotionally. They'll try to make you doubt yourself. I looked at him, coldly determined. I've spent my whole life doubting myself, not anymore. The courtroom battle. The day arrived. The air was thick with tension. Cameras crowded the gallery. Reporters whispered in the hallways. Shareholders and corporate partners watched from the back. Mom, Dad, and Chase sat together, 3 masks, 1 family. I stepped up, swore under oath, and began. Your Honor, my name is Jenna Cross. What I am about to share is not a story of money alone, but of deception, betrayal, and abuse of power within my family. I detailed the hidden accounts, forged signatures, and offshore transfers. The emails between Mom and Vale, plotting to divert my inheritance. Chase's gambling debts, funded secretly by family business money. Dad's blind spots, his complicity, his belief that silence would protect him. Every fact was backed with recordings, screenshots, and notarized documents. The judge listened, silent and unreadable. Mom's mask began to slip as her own handwriting, her own voice, was played for everyone to hear. The psychological game. Mom tried to counter, standing with a rehearsed calm. Your Honor, I acted to protect the family's legacy. I interrupted, voice clear, unwavering. You acted to control it, and when I became inconvenient, you tried to erase me. Chase's face turned red, his hands shaking. You're destroying us over money. I stepped closer, voice low and deliberate. No, Chase, I'm restoring what you tried to steal. I'm defending the truth. Dad sat frozen, every line of his face betraying disbelief. The evidence strikes. The turning point came when I presented the encrypted USBs. These files contain correspondence, bank transfers, and legal amendments proving intent. Every move was calculated, every lie deliberate. You cannot argue ignorance when the proof is this clear. The judge examined the files, flipping between contracts, emails, and recordings. The courtroom was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioning. Mom's hand trembled as the judge held up a document, a notarized amendment from Grandma, nomming me as sole heir. This isn't valid, Mom sputtered. It is, I said calmly. Signed, witnessed, and notarized 2 weeks before Grandma passed. She trusted me. She didn't trust you. The courtroom erupted with whispers. Cameras captured every reaction. The verdict approaches. By the end of the first day, the courtroom knew the truth. Mom's empire of control was crumbling. Dad's complicity, Chase's deceit, all exposed. Outside, reporters swarmed, flashing lights capturing the collapse of a family dynasty built on greed. I left the courthouse with Daniel and Evan, heart steady, mind sharp. This was only the beginning. The next days would bring cross-examinations, emotional attacks, and attempts at manipulation. But I was ready. I had learned the rules of their game, and now the board was turned. Because revenge isn't just about exposing lies, it's about forcing them to face consequences. And they hadn't faced anything yet. The morning of the second day in court was electric. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation, reporters spilling over the hallways, eager to witness the family implosion. I arrived early, my briefcase heavy with files, my mind sharper than ever. Daniel and Evan flanked me, silent guardians of the storm I was about to unleash. Cross-examination begins. Mom rose first, her voice steady but brittle. "Ms. Cross, are you certain that all these documents are authentic?" she asked, eyes narrowing. I placed a notarized amendment on the stand. "Yes, I am." Signed, dated, and witnessed 2 weeks before Grandma passed. Every document here is verified. She tried to inject doubt, but couldn't someone have forged these? I smiled coldly. "Forged? You're suggesting my grandmother forged her own documents to protect me from you." The room went silent. Gasps spread through the gallery. Mom's hand trembled slightly as she clutched her papers. Chase cracks. Chase's turn came next. "You can't possibly prove intent. I didn't know." I cut him off, holding up emails between him and Mom discussing secret accounts and offshore transfers. "You didn't know," I said, voice low and deadly. "Or you didn't want to know. You were part of the plan to erase me. Every missed call, every ignored text, every financial maneuver planned. Calculated, intentional." Chase's face paled. His lawyer whispered frantically in his ear, but the damage was done. The courtroom had seen the emails. The plot was laid bare. Dad's silence. Dad's moment came last. "Jenna, you've gone too far. We were protecting the family legacy," he said, his voice shaking. I shook my head. "No, Dad, you were protecting your control. And when Grandma saw through it, she trusted me instead. She left me the weapon, the truth, and the authority. You didn't see it coming because you never considered I could fight back." He sank into his chair, hollow, defeated. Every line of his face betrayed regret and disbelief. The judge intervenes. The judge leaned forward. "Ms. Cross, the documentation and testimony are compelling. Is there any rebuttal from the defendants?" Mom stammered. We acted in what we believed was the family's best interest." I raised my hand, the final blow. "The family's best interest. You excluded the person who cared for Grandma in her final days. You hid accounts, you diverted funds, you gambled with the legacy. That's not family, it's theft disguised as protection." The judge nodded slowly. "The court will review all evidence carefully, but the initial impression is damning. Full control of the estate may rightfully rest with Ms. Cross." The emotional collapse. As the day wore on, the gallery watched Mom crumble, Chase fume, and Dad retreat into himself. I stayed calm, serene even, but inside a fire raged. Every betrayal I had endured, every insult, every slight, it all culminated in this moment. I wasn't just reclaiming my inheritance. I was reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my truth. The press outside were relentless. Cameras flashed as Mom and Chase exited the courthouse, their faces masks of defeat. I stepped onto the steps, the wind whipping at my hair, and spoke softly to myself. This is what happens when you underestimate the person you tried to erase. The first victory. That night, I returned home to the lake house. The estate, the investments, the power, all firmly in my hands. Daniel poured us each a glass of wine. You did it. They didn't stand a chance. I nodded, looking out at the dark water. This is just the beginning. They'll try to fight in other ways in the shadows, but I've built walls they can't climb. Evan added, they'll try to manipulate to turn the board, even go legal again. But with everything documented, you're untouchable. I raised my glass. To justice, to the truth, and to the family that tried to bury me but handed me the shovel instead. We drank, the fire crackling behind us. Outside, the lake reflected the moonlight, serene, untouchable, just like I would be. Foreshadowing the final chapter. Even as victory tasted sweet, I knew the war wasn't fully over. There would be attempts at retaliation, subtle, cruel, and insidious. But I had learned the rules of the game. Anticipate, prepare, and strike with precision. The final chapter wouldn't just be about money or power. It would be about complete restoration, exposure, and ultimate closure. And when it came, they would see the full weight of every decision they had ever made against me. The morning air was crisp, biting even through the car windows as I drove to the family estate one last time. Today wasn't about confrontation, it was about closure, and I intended to make every moment count. Daniel and Evan rode with me, silent and alert, their presence a reminder that while the battle had been won, vigilance was still required. The boardroom reckoning. I arrived at the company headquarters first. The partners had been warned the night before that I would take control immediately and make decisive changes. The room fell silent as I entered, briefcase in hand. Good morning, I said calmly, placing folders on the mahogany table. Today, we are realigning this company. Every transaction over $5,000 now requires dual authorization. Every account will be audited quarterly. Transparency is not optional, it's mandatory. Thomas, the senior partner, swallowed hard. Ms. Cross, this is unprecedented. Unprecedented? I replied, voice steady. No, necessary. My grandmother trusted me to carry this forward, and I intend to honor her vision. Not yours, not theirs. Confronting the family. By mid-morning, Mom, Dad, and Chase arrived at the estate, summoned for a private discussion. Their faces were pale, tense, the pretense of composure crumbling under the weight of their past actions. I greeted them at the door. You wanted a meeting. Here we are. Dad tried to speak, but his voice cracked. Jenna, this isn't how. I cut him off. No, Dad, this is exactly how. You cut me out, gambled with the estate, lied about accounts, and hid your failures behind smiles and excuses. Today, you see the cost of every decision. Chase muttered, You think this is over. You're going to ruin all of us. I let him stew. No, I'm not ruining you. I'm exposing the truth. The court has ruled, the accounts are audited, and every hidden transaction is documented. You cannot touch any of it without incriminating yourselves further. Mom stepped forward, voice tight. Jenna, you don't understand what family is. I laughed softly, a sound edged with both sorrow and triumph. Family? Family doesn't erase me and call it loyalty. Family doesn't use love as leverage to hide greed. Family protects its own or it dies. You made your choice. Exposing every lie. I walked them through the evidence folder, each page revealing hidden accounts, offshore transfers, forged signatures, and misused funds. Every whisper of deceit, every shadow of betrayal, it was laid bare, undeniable. Chase's face twisted with rage. Dad sank into a chair, silent, defeated. Mom's hands shook as she leafed through the documents. "This," I said, pointing to the last folder, "is the final proof. Every misstep you made, every time you tried to erase me is now recorded. And the law stands with me. There is no appeal, no loophole, no hiding from the consequences." The emotional closure. After the storm of revelations, I led them to the lake house, the place Grandma had loved most. We stood on the porch, the water reflecting a serene, silver light. The air was heavy with what had been, but also what would now be. "I am not here to humiliate you," I said, voice softer now. "I am here to reclaim what was stolen and restore the legacy that was always mine to protect. That includes you, if you choose honesty, integrity, and respect." Mom's eyes welled up. "And if we fail again?" "You'll have to live with it," I said firmly. "As will I, but at least now the truth is clear. No more lies, no more hidden agendas." Chase turned away, unable to meet my gaze. Dad finally spoke, voice hollow. "You've outsmarted us, every step of the way." "Yes," I said, "I did, and you should have seen it coming." Securing the future. Over the next few weeks, I consolidated control over the family estate, the business, and all financial holdings. Every board member, every lawyer, every accountant had been briefed. Transparency, ethics, and accountability would now define the legacy my grandmother entrusted me with. I also established a trust in Grandma's name, ensuring that no one could manipulate or erase the family again. A scholarship fund, community donations, and charitable investments followed, reminders that power wielded with integrity could do good. The final lesson. Standing on the lake house porch one evening, I watched the sun dip below the horizon. The past was behind me. Betrayal, greed, lies, all accounted for. The family that had tried to bury me had inadvertently given me the foundation to rebuild stronger than ever. I whispered into the wind, a vow to myself and to Grandma. They tried to cut me out, but they didn't realize I am the root. And now, the tree grows taller than they ever imagined. The wind stirred the leaves, the water shimmered, and I smiled. The checkmate was complete.